Hey friends, let's get moving. Today we're gonna do a very gentle, basic level flow, and you will need some prop-age. So here's what you need. I've got a blanket here, and then also a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, grab one of the cushions off your couch or stack up a few pillows or blankets so that you have something that's pretty thick that you can rest on. Optional yoga block, one of these other soft things that I've already mentioned might be a nice substitute for the block if you don't have one. This is a half dome foam roller. We're gonna use one of these, and if you don't have one, you can sub with a rolled up yoga mat or a rolled up blanket. And then last thing is a ball. This is a racket ball. You could use a tennis ball or some other dedicated massage ball. So let's get started. Come on down to your back. And it is super cold in here, so I'm leaving my socks on for a little while until we actually stand up. So I have this blanket under my head and my shoulders. Hopefully you can elevate your head and shoulders enough that your rib cage isn't lifting away from the ground and pointing to the ceiling. We want to let the low ribs soften towards the floor. So from here, go ahead and hug your right knee into your chest, and you can interlace your fingers on the right shin or behind the right thigh, whatever's most comfortable. And then slide your left leg out straight on the mat and make your left leg straight, strong. Push your left heel down into the ground, maybe even wake up your toes and spread your toes apart. And now that you've got your left leg nice and set, turn your attention to your right ankle and pull some ankle circles here. And make sure that you are getting all the cobwebs out of the corners. Explore the full range of motion here in your ankle. Be very intentional about your circling and reverse. Left leg is still straight, strong. And you can cease your circles. So now, with your interlaced fingers, you're gonna pull your knee towards your chest more and then oppose that action by pushing your leg into your hands. So you've got a pull with your arms and a push with your leg. And as you're doing this, you can let go through your neck and shoulders. And then go ahead and extend your leg up into the air any amount, so you can drop your hands down by your sides. As high up as your leg will comfortably go, as straight as your knee will let you be. And now, to lower your leg to the ground, reach forward through your heel, like you're trying to get your right side longer, like you're trying to make your leg and your hip longer, slowly all the way down to the ground. And then pause, relax both legs. My right leg feels longer than my left leg. How about you? So here we go. Let's come back to our starting position. So bend both knees. And then hug your left knee into your chest. So again, you can do hands on the shin or behind the thigh, whatever's easier. And then slide your right leg out straight, strong. And press your right heel down into the ground. Wake up the right toes, spread them apart. And while you keep that right leg nice and activated, turn your attention to your left ankle. Let's circle the left ankle, being super intentional with that circling so that we are clearing out the cobwebs in the ankle joint. And reverse. And cease your circles. Now let's do that built-in resistance. So you're gonna pull with your arms. So you're pulling your knee closer into your chest, but at the same time, you're opposing that action by pushing your leg back into your hands, keeping the shoulders soft, keeping the jaw soft. Using only the amount of effort that you need. No more, no less. And then release your hands to the ground and stretch your left leg up into the air. Maybe your left leg comes more at like a 45-degree angle or a diagonal. Maybe it doesn't go all the way up in the air. Maybe you have to bend your knee a lot to get your leg all the way up in the air. Any of those are fine. And then wherever you are, let's go ahead and reach forward and down through the heel to lower the leg all the way to the ground, going slowly with control. Pause when you make contact with the ground, relax your legs. Now give both knees a hug into your chest, and you can rock a little bit from side to side, maybe feeling a low back massage on the ground. You can try pushing your knees around in a circle. That feels kind of nice. And we're going to get ready to come up to a seated position, so you can always roll over and sit up, or for a little fun and excitement, you can rock and roll. So do what feels good to you. Now, when you get up, we're gonna sit in a crisscross applesauce position, a cross-legged position. And so this is where I'm gonna use my block to help me sit up. When you come into a cross-legged position, if your knees are higher than your hips, then you're gonna wanna lift your hips up onto a prop, whether that's a block, a folded blanket, a bolster, a stack of folded blankets. And see, if I don't sit on anything, my knees are a little bit higher than my hips. They're not super higher than my hips or anything like that, but I know that it makes my lower back feel better sitting when I sit up on a block. So that's what I'm gonna do. Join me. Okay. Now, in your crisscross, you can play around with how far your feet and your shins are from your pelvis. So you could have your feet really close into your pelvis. So try that, see how that feels. You can also have your feet really far away from your pelvis, so your shins are more parallel to the edge of your mat. And that would look a little something like this. For the purposes of our class today, let's stay in this further away crisscross, where the shins are a little bit more parallel to the front of the mat or the side of the mat, wherever you are. Okay, so can you let go through the fronts of your hips? Can you relax those muscles there and let your knees feel heavy? And can you wiggle your seat a little bit? Can you feel both of your sit bones making contact with your prop or the ground, whatever you're sitting on? It might be a little harder if you're sitting on something squishy. This block is pretty hard, so it's easy for me to know where my sit bones are. So try to keep your sit bones like anchors, and then just lean over to one side. You can even bring your hand down to the ground. Doesn't matter which side you do. We're gonna do all the sides. So you choose which one you wanna do first. So if you lean so far over that your sit bone comes up, then you know you need to back off a little bit, glue that sit bone down and try again. And then over to the other side and noticing, can I go a little further on this side? Or maybe not. Can test it out. Do you notice any stretch sensation when you lean over to the side? If so, where? You can kind of go back and forth, exploring a little bit. And we can also lean forward any amount. And we can lean back any amount, keeping the sit bones grounded on the prop or the ground. Okay. Now let's twist a little bit from side to side. So this is a twist that comes from your trunk, that comes from your tummy. So it's not a twist that starts with your shoulders or with your head. In fact, your chin should be in a line with your sternum, with your breastbone. And if you don't know what to do with your hands, you can put them on your hips or you can interlace your hands in front of you. And that way you know that your arms aren't doing the work. Notice, how far can I go in this direction? How far can I go in the other direction? Okay, let's switch the cross of our legs to the weird way. So look at your shins, whichever shin is in front, you're gonna switch it to the other direction. So the other shin is in front. And just for good measure, start out by pulling your feet closer to your pelvis and see what that feels like. Weird, because it's the other way. And then take your feet further away from your pelvis so your shins are more parallel to the front of your mat. See how that feels? Weird. So now let's start exploring rooting our sit bones down into the prop. You can lean over to one side and lean over to the other side. You can use your hands to help hold you up. Notice, how far can I go on this side without letting my sit bone peel up off the ground? How far can I go over on the other side without letting my sit bone peel up off the ground? And you can toggle back and forth. And then we can take it forward as well. So lean forward over your legs any amount. And as you're moving your torso around in this position, watching for any stretch sensation, and take it back. Maybe opening the chest towards the ceiling if it feels nice. And again, you can toggle forward and back to really get moving. And then let's come back to the middle here and we'll twist. So do whatever you want with your hands. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna interlace my fingers. And the twist again is coming from your tummy. Little swivel twist, chin stays in a line with the sternum. And notice how your breath changes. Maybe you can listen to the sound of your breath during this swivel twist and see how the movement of your torso changes the sound of your breath. Okay, and go ahead and come back to the middle. You can drop your hands. Now from here, we're gonna take our feet open wide, our legs open wide. Okay, so still feeling the contact of the sit bones. Again, it might feel harder to make that connection if what you're sitting on is squishier. If it's harder, it's probably easier to feel where your bones are. And check in with your hip points. So the bony points on the front of your pelvis, make sure if those are headlights, you want your headlights pointing straight ahead. And now push your heels down into the ground And at the same time, try hugging your legs towards one another. So they're not actually gonna go because you're on a sticky mat. But since I have my socks on, if I was just on the hardwood floor and I did this hugging in action with my legs would slide together, okay? And as you're pushing down with the heels and hugging the legs in, make sure that your headlights are still facing forward. Your hip headlights are still facing forward. And in just a moment, we'll let the legs relax. 3, 2, and 1. Relax your legs. Now, just like we did in the cross-legged position, let's go ahead and lean over to one side and lean over to the other side. And you can go side to side here. And let's go front to back, forward, hello stretch, and back, and forward, and back, and forward, and back. Okay, now let's go ahead and bring the legs back together. So if you're sitting on something, I'd like for you to just entertain the idea of trying, maybe, just standing straight up from the ground without using your hands to help you. Now, if you know right off the bat that that's not going to work for you, then please choose a different way. But if you have full range of motion in your joints, especially in your ankles, knees, and hips, give it a try. When I do it, I have to reach my arms forward, and I do have to lean forward a little bit to help me stand up. So I'm gonna move this block out of the way. And now that my blood's flowing a little bit, I'm a little warmer, I'm gonna take my socks off. So grab your therapy ball, your massage ball, and we're gonna give the feet a little bit of love. If balance is an issue, make sure that you're next to a wall or a chair, something that you can hold on to help steady you. So let's start with the left foot forward and the right foot back. You're gonna stagger your feet, and I have the ball kind of at the ball of my left foot. So I'm gonna pretend like I'm just gonna take a step onto the ball, and then I'm gonna rock back onto my right foot. So I'm rocking my weight into my left foot and then rocking back to my right foot. And I'm just gonna go back and forth here. And as I go, each time I rock back onto my right foot, I'm gonna move the ball to a little bit of a different spot on my left foot. Again, you can keep hold of the wall if you need a little help with balance. So this is kind of a pumping or a compression motion. We're not rolling at this point. We'll do that in a minute. So as you step onto the ball, this is like when you're outside and you step on a tree root. Hopefully your foot and the joints in your foot can mobilize to kind of drape over that so that you don't just trip and fall over. So as you step onto the ball, can you let your foot deform to the shape or conform to the shape of the ball, mobilizing those smaller joints in the foot as you go. Now let's roll. So I am going to hold on to the wall for this part. So starting with the ball at your heel, you're going to kind of do a vacuuming motion, just like you would forward and backward with a vacuum. And you're going to let your foot roll over the ball from the heel up to the toes and back down again. That feels good. So if you want to feel more pressure here, then you're going to need more weight in your front leg. If you want less pressure, maybe your feet are a little bit more sensitive and tender. Maybe you need to keep more weight in your back foot. You can also practice this sitting, and that will really take some of the weight off. Okay, let's switch over to the other side. So we have the right foot forward and the left foot back, and I'm starting with the ball up at the ball of my foot. So step onto your right foot and rock back to your left foot. Rock forward, rock back. And as you rock back, you're gonna take that chance to move the ball to a slightly different spot on your foot. So we're getting all over the sole of the foot here. Not just the arch, not just the ball of the foot. Go everywhere. And hopefully this feels good. And if it feels good, you know, that's enough of a benefit right there. If you need a little bit more convincing that this is good for you, you know, think of it this way. We're kind of, this ball and this massage motion is kind of reminding our brain that our foot is there. If you wear glasses, if you've ever tried to look at something or read something without your glasses on and it's blurry, your body without movement, without touch, your brain sees your body that way, fuzzy, blurry. So when we offer our body movement and touch and this self-massage, it essentially allows our brain to put the glasses on and see our body parts clearly. So we're teaching our brain where our foot is, essentially. And I think that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and do that vacuuming motion now. Still left foot staggered back, right foot forward, and you can start at the heel and go up to the ball and then back down to the heel. Just that forward and backward motion like you would with a vacuum cleaner on the rug. I keep catching myself. I keep wanting to look down at my foot. Notice if you're doing the same thing. Can you keep your head upright? Can you trust that what's going on down there doesn't require your eyes? That you can let your brain see it for you? Okay, so go ahead and put your therapy ball off to the side. And now here's where you're gonna need your half dome or the rolled up mat or rolled up blanket. Gonna get in a little calf stretch here. So starting with my left foot, I'm gonna put the ball of my left foot on the half dome. And then I'm slowly gonna step my right foot forward bit by bit until I feel a good degree of sensation in my left lower leg, calf, back of the ankle. And so here, there is a little nuance here to it. Can you relax the muscles at the front of your ankle? So if you look down at your left foot and left ankle, if you see those tendons popping out of the front of your ankle joint, see if you can relax a little bit and let your foot simply hang out in this shape, in this relationship to gravity. You can look at your toes and make sure your toes are relaxed for now. And you can also look at your kneecap, your left kneecap, and see which direction is my kneecap pointing. Is my kneecap pointing towards the right front corner of my mat? Is it pointing straight ahead? Is it pointing over to the left front corner of the mat? And if it feels well, you can try exploring that range of motion. So maybe you, by rotating your thigh bone, maybe you try pointing your knee over to the right corner of your mat and noticing how that changes the sensation. And then again, see if you can, by rotating your thigh bone, point your knee straight ahead. And how does that change the sensation? And then lastly, and this one might be a little bit more challenging, to keep your foot on the ground and not let your foot spin out, okay? So you don't want your toes to spin out to the side. See if you can keep your foot where it is, and just by rotating the thigh bone and this also rotating the shin a bit, see if you can point your knee to the left side of the mat. And when I do that, I feel my left hip turn on and get really strong. Okay, let's go ahead and step back. Take a deep breath in and out and see how you feel. Okay, let's go over to the other foot. So we're gonna put the ball of the right foot up on the half dome or the blanket roll or whatever roll you have. Although I have to throw in a Swiss cake roll joke. Hopefully it's not a Swiss cake roll because that would be a waste of a Swiss cake roll. Okay, sorry for my bad joke. Now you're gonna take your left foot and step it forward incrementally until you feel, hey, this is where I'm gonna hang out. So like if you start to feel your right heel peel up off the ground, you need to scoot your left foot further back. If you feel, holy cow, really big stretch, then maybe step it back just a little bit. You wanna feel a super manageable sensation so that your nervous system stays cool, calm, and collected, and doesn't feel like there's a threat here, okay? So again, let your toes relax. You can look down at your ankle, the front of your ankle. Are any of those tendons popping out? If so, can you let them go? Let them relax. And then also look down at your kneecap. Where is your kneecap pointing? Is it pointing over towards the left front corner of the mat? Is it pointing straight ahead? Is it pointing over to the right front corner of the mat? Take a look. It might be hard to tell at first. You might not know. You might go ahead and press pause and get in front of a mirror and then come back and rejoin us when you have a better idea of what's going on down there. Now, if you can, and if it feels well, try rotating your thigh bone so that your kneecap points towards the left front corner of the mat. And how does that affect the stretch that you feel in your calf? Just pay attention to that. And then by rotating your thigh bone, point your kneecap straight ahead. And again, you're watching for the change of sensation in the stretch of your calf. And then keep rotating the thigh bone without letting your toes spin out. Now, you might feel that the ball of your foot, the big toe side of your foot, gets a little bit lighter on the roll or the dome. That's fine. Just don't spin your toes out. Okay, so now the kneecap is pointing over to the right front corner of the mat. I'm noticing a big difference in the stretch. Okay, let's go ahead and release that. So slowly peel your right foot off of the half dome or the blanket roll, and you can push that off to the side. Now let's stretch the top of the foot and the front of the shin. So I'm gonna take my right foot and step it back. So again, if balance is an issue, you can find a wall. You can also do this sitting down. You would just maybe scoot to the side of the chair and then tuck your foot back the side of the chair. Okay, so I've got my toenails, that side of the foot, that's what's on the ground. And everybody's gonna be a little bit different here. So if you feel a good stretch on the front of your foot or the front of your shin, cool, hang out. Breathe, feel it. If you're not feeling much of anything, there's some things you can play around with. You can try bending your knee, your right knee, seeing how that feels. You can also try isometrically dragging that right foot forward towards the front of the mat. And you can also try stepping the right foot back further, or some combination of the three. Or all of the above. Okay, and go ahead and step your right foot back up to meet your left. And now just look down at your feet. So remember I said it's cold in here? So my toes on my left foot are a little purple and cold, but my whole right foot is pink from that stretch. Okay, let's do the other side. So step your left foot back, put the top of the foot on the ground, the toenail side of the toes on the ground. And tune in. Is this where you're gonna hang out? Are you gonna sink in here? Or do we need to explore some variations? So remember, you can always bend your back knee, your left knee. You can always isometrically drag your left foot towards the front of your mat. You can also try stepping your left foot backwards further. And then let's go ahead and slide the feet back together. Now my toes aren't purple anymore. They're pink, just so you know. I know you were concerned, so I had to tell you, I had to update you. Okay, so from here, let's pay attention to our arms a little bit. So I'm gonna turn sideways again, and we need to make sure that the feet are pelvis width apart and that the hips are over the ankles. So not forward of the ankles, but if you dropped a plumb line down from your hip joint, you would want it to stack over your ankle joint. And then I'm gonna make sure that my rib cage is not thrust towards the ceiling. I'm gonna temper my ribs, let my low ribs soften down. Okay. Sometimes when you bring your ribs down, it's gonna reveal what might appear to be some unflattering forward position here in the shoulders. And that's just the truth. So get in touch with the truth. And then from here too, I'm gonna bring my head up and back, lengthening my neck. Okay, so I'm gonna move with my breath here. As I inhale, reach the arms up overhead and stop where the arms stop. And then exhale and bring the arms back down by the sides. Inhale, reach the arms forward and up. So we're just moving the arms here. We're not moving the spine. We're not moving the hips. We're just focusing the work on the shoulders and on the arms. Inhaling to lift, exhaling to lower. So I think you might be able to see that my arms do not come in a line with my ears. In order to get my arms in a line with my ears, I would have to bend my spine and lift my rib cage. But because we're just focusing on the arms and shoulders, I'm not going to do those things today. Now we've explored the forward and back plane. Let's do this side to side plane. So we're going to keep the ribs tempered. We're going to keep the hips stacked over the heels and take the arms out and up. So we're inhaling to lift the arms and exhaling to lower the arms. Going at the pace of your own breath. So if you're breathing quickly, you can move your arms quickly. If you're breathing slowly, move your arms slowly. And I'm going to just turn sideways so that you can see that when I lift my arm up, it's still not quite in a line with my ear. Okay. Maybe yours is. Maybe your arms do come more in a line with your ears. And that's cool. Good for you. I'm not there yet. But I am gonna challenge my shoulders a little bit more now, and I hope you will too. So as you're lowering your arms back down to the ground, give a little backward push through the hands. So you're trying to widen the arms as you lower them down to the ground. And so that push is just coming from the hands, so it's not coming from the chest. It's not coming from the ribs or the spine, just pushing the hands back, keeping the neck soft as you go. Normal inhale. As you exhale, push back through your hands to lower the arms down by your sides. Last one. Whew. My back feels warm now. So let's come to our hands for just a moment. So let's turn the backs of the hands towards one another, kind of a reverse prayer position here. So try to get your fingernails touching. And for me, that's really a stretch for my thumbs. Maybe your thumbs will get closer together than mine will. And I'm gonna make sure my shoulders are relaxed so that I'm really concentrating the work here at my wrists, forearms, and hands. And then I'm gonna pull down, tracing down the midline, keeping my hands glued together. If you feel that the backs of the hands start to come apart, then you've pulled down too far. Go ahead and back it up a little bit. Still trying to stretch through the palm so that the thumbs and the backs of the thumbs can get closer together. Ooh, that one's challenging. My thumbs don't want to do that yet. Okay, and go ahead and trace that line up and shake out your hands. Now, let's get the fingers involved and the other side of the hand and forearm involved. So, take your palm forward, and you can try it first with a bent elbow or a straight elbow. Try it both ways even and see how there's a change. So you're gonna take your right hand and grab hold of the fingers and pull the fingers down towards the ground. Okay, so if you start with a bent elbow, how does that feel? And then if you stretch the arm straight, how does that change the sensation? Keep trying to spread the thumb away from the rest of the fingers. Okay, let's go to the other hand. So right hand, take the left hand to the right fingertips, pull the fingertips down towards the ground. So you can start with a bent elbow or you can go straight into straight elbow, noticing how the sensation changes. Which one feels more beneficial? Choose that one. I'm losing my grip here, so I'm gonna come back in, and you're gonna keep stretching your thumb away from the rest of the fingers. I use my hands a lot as a massage therapist, and then if I'm not doing massage, I might be on the computer typing away, and so my hands always appreciate a stretch. Okay, release. You can shake it out. Okay, so now let's come back down to the ground, and we're gonna come into an all fours position. And when we get into all fours, we're gonna try to see if we can get a 90-degree angle from our thumb, this is my thumb, from our thumb to our middle finger, okay? So mine's not totally there. I have to work really hard to stretch my thumbs this far away from the rest of my hand. So you're gonna do what you can. So as you put your hands down, you want your middle fingers pointing straight ahead, and you're trying to get that 90-degree angle as best you can between your middle finger and your thumb. And then add to that the rotation of your arms. So you want the elbow creases where you get poked if you have to get blood taken. You want that pointing in the same direction as your middle finger. And see if you can keep your fingers long and strong. So instead of clawing your finger pads into the mat, can you bear the weight throughout the whole length of your long fingers? Also, you can see the color of your mat between each finger. And so just like when we were sitting at the beginning in crisscross applesauce, and our two sit bones were our anchor points. So here, our two hands, our two palms are our anchor points. So can you keep this strong connection between your hands and the ground, and then lean towards the right? How far can you go to the right before your hands start to peel up? And how far can you go over to the left before your hands start to peel up? So just go back and forth there. Keeping the fingers long and strong. And then you can go back and forward as well, keeping the elbow creases pointing in the same direction as your middle fingers. Notice if your thumbs have started to leave that right angle, if the angle has gotten a little smaller. Maybe you can go around in a circle. Seeing how that feels on your hands, on your wrists. And go in the other direction. And release. Peel your hands up off the ground, shake them out. That was good. Woo, okay. We're gonna bring it down to the ground again, and here's where you are probably gonna need some more of your props, some of the softer props like blankets or bolsters or pillows. So let's start in a side lying position. So you might want something under your head, or if you're comfortable with letting your head just lay on the ground, if that's an okay stretch for your neck, then you can go ahead and do that. And then I've got this bolster for my legs. So I'm gonna lay down, put my head and shoulders on the blanket, and make sure that my ribs can settle down. Once I've done that, I'm gonna roll over onto my right side. I'm gonna straighten the right leg and bend the left knee, and I'm gonna rest the left knee and leg on my bolster. You can rest it on the ground if that's really comfortable for you, so make yourself comfy. Do whatever works for you. Okay, so now just take and lift your left arm straight up towards the ceiling. And you want to keep that feeling of the soft, low ribs. So we don't want the ribs to flare out here. And just take your left arm back behind you any amount. Maybe you can go until you feel your ribs starting to participate in the action and stop before then. And then while you're there, keep your arm back. Can you turn your forearm so that your wrist and your palm rotate? And just see how that changes the sensation, if any. And then from there, bring your hand back up to the ceiling. And keep your wrist stacked over your shoulder, but bend at the wrist so that your palm faces the ceiling and your fingertips point behind you. Ooh, that's a big stretch for me. And then we're gonna release that and stretch the arm overhead. And from here, we're gonna make a windmill action, circling the arm all the way around in its full range of motion. Now, as your arm comes back behind you, you might feel tempted to roll back with your arm. We'll do that in a minute, I promise. Just try to stay in your sideline position for now and only windmill the arm. This motion feels so good for my shoulder joint, and it makes me think that I'm giving my shoulder joint a massage. And so with that attitude, when I have that attitude about it, I'm making potentially this exercise just more nourishing for not just my shoulder, but for my whole self. Because I'm thinking, I'm giving my shoulder joint a massage from the inside out. I'm taking such good care of myself. That's my thought process. Maybe you can get on board with that. Last one. And now from here, take it back into that windmill, and as your arm comes back behind you, let your chest open towards the ceiling. And then as your arm swoops forward, let your chest close back off into side lying. So your chest and shoulders are gonna follow the motion of your arm here. Last one. And coming back to starting position, let's go ahead and switch over to the other side. So rolling onto your back to begin, move your prop over to the other side if you're using it, and then roll over onto your left, making sure that as you get situated, your rib cage is still in that tempered position, so you're not thrusting your ribs. And now, I should say too, if you are a side sleeper and you have the urge to really just, relax here, I'm gonna ask you to rein it in, okay? As you get set up, try to keep your hips stacked one on top of the other, as opposed to letting your top hip fall forward. Okay, so now right arm comes straight up, wrist over shoulder, and we're gonna keep the ribs down as we take the arm back behind us any amount. And then when you get to where you're going, here's where you can keep your upper arm bone steady, just where it is. We're not gonna rotate the upper arm bone, but we're rotating from the forearm to flip the palm. And then bring your arm back up so you have your right wrist stacked over top of your right shoulder. And then from here, bend at the wrist so the palm faces the ceiling. And then let's windmill it. So relax at the wrist, bring your arm down towards your side, and then sweep forward and up towards the ear, and then around back behind you. And remember, as you let your arm windmill behind you, Try keeping your shoulders stacked. Don't let your chest open up here. We're gonna do that in a minute. And like I said on the other side, for me, I'm imagining that I'm giving my shoulder joint a massage from the inside out. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, this feels so good. I'm doing something so good for myself. I'm taking such good care of myself, and I deserve it. I deserve to take such good care of myself. And so do you. Okay, now, as you windmill your arm back behind you, let your chest and shoulders open up towards the ceiling. And then when your arm comes back forward, you're returning to that starting position. So you're gonna let your chest and shoulders follow your arm. Making sure that you're taking rich, nourishing breaths as you go. Last one. And returning to starting position. Take a full breath in and out. Okay, roll back to your back. And then we're gonna get back up to a seated position to get organized for our next position here. So if you wanna roll over and sit up, you can, or you can rock and roll. I'm gonna rock. Okay, I feel like I'm getting relaxation here. Hopefully you are too. Okay, so I'm gonna keep my blanket close by because I know that I need it, as well as my bolster. So we're gonna get set up for psoas release. And so here, for psoas release, you're gonna lie down so that the bolster or the pillows or the whatever you have is making contact right at the top of the shoulder, okay? And so I'm gonna lift my arms up so that you can see when I do that, there's space between my back and the ground, between my low ribs and the ground. And you want that space because you're gonna let your body relax into that space. So I'm even gonna scooch a little bit more. There we go. Okay, and I have the blanket under my head too, because I feel like if I just let my head rest on the bolster, it feels funny on my neck. So play around with the heights that you're putting yourself at. Okay, and so we are tuning out and tuning in right now. If you know that you get chilly when you start to relax, put your jammies on, cover up with a blanket, put your socks on, whatever you need. So let your hands rest a little bit away from your sides with your palms facing the ceiling. And close your eyes. And let's take a deep breath in through the nose and a releasing sigh through the mouth. Maybe a yawn too. The eyes softly close and the eyes settle back into their sockets. Facial muscles soften, the corners of the eyes soften. And you feel that relaxation flowing down through your cheeks to your mouth, where lips, jaw, and tongue all relax. Your next exhale releases tension from your chest, from your heart. Your next exhale releases tension from your belly. And your next exhale releases tension from your hips. And you feel the current of relaxation flowing down through the legs, all the way to the soles of the feet. And you become aware of a soft, warm, tingling sensation at the soles of your feet. It's your body's way of letting you know that you're grounded, centered, and calm. As you continue relaxing and resting in effortlessness, you can feel your lowest ribs softening towards the ground. You can feel your spine hammocking towards the ground as the whole body settles. As you continue relaxing, call to mind a person that you love, a close friend, a family member, a child. And as you think of that person, allow the corners of your mouth to lift in a smile as you are reminded and as you fully feel the love and compassion you have for that person. Now concentrate that love and compassion into your hands. Maybe feel or imagine that your hands are getting warmer as a result of that care, that love. And then by bending at the elbows, place those hands full of love onto your belly. As you turn those feelings of care and compassion back towards yourself, to your own body, as you continue resting, feel feelings of care streaming from your hands and your fingertips, nourishing your own body, respecting, loving your own body, expressing kindness through your hands to your own body in the same way that you would as giving a loving touch to that friend, to that loved one, that child. soak it in. Take a deep breath in and let it out. And again, another deep breath in, this time expressing with a sigh. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. If you want to stretch your arms overhead like you're waking up for the first time, go ahead and do that. And then bend your knees and roll over to one side, coming off of your bolster or your pillows. And then push yourself back up to a seated position. How do you feel? I think my hair is showing that I had a nice relaxing time on the mat. I hope you did too. I hope you have great relaxation hair. Thank you so much for joining me today and for letting me to be a part of your wellness journey. I can't wait to help you with another video. So see you next time.